Jason Creel, Lawn Care Live, got a special guest, and we are talking about lawn care profitability, how to be profitable in your lawn care business. I think it's something that honestly most people don't spend enough time thinking about. They're just out there working all day and don't think about about their numbers and how to make them look better, bigger numbers. So let's get started. I'm going to introduce the special guest, and we're going to shoot some questions at him. Hopefully you guys recognize the face on the camera here, Naylor Taliaferro with the Lawn Care Rookie, as he's affectionately known. And we're down here at the Hype House in Florida and spending some time, but I wanted to bring up a topic that I thought might be helpful, and I told Naylor that we were talking about profitability. And so I'm going to start off with this question, and then I'm going to get you to comment on these. But tell me, rank these in order, okay, for us. It's going to test your memory here. Oh, boy. In order of profitability, which one of these, in order of like how important they are to your actual profitability? Yeah. Equipment, your employees, your routing, and your pricing. Okay. Equipment, employees, routing, and pricing. If you want to leave a comment below, if you're watching the video, what order you think these should go in. But anyway, what you guys, as far as equipment, employees, routing, pricing, order of importance for being a profitable company?
Well, I think number one should be pricing. Okay. If you don't have your pricing down pat, then the rest doesn't matter, because you're just not going to be profitable no matter what. You could have the bummiest startup equipment, you know, I say bummy, I'm not trying to be mean, but you could have like, something like hand-me-downs, or you're borrowing something from a neighbor or whatever, like the most inefficient equipment you could have, and still make money if you have your pricing right. So that's why I say pricing first. And then I would say routing, number two, because again, it doesn't matter what equipment you have, if you are driving all over town, it's almost kind of pricing, routing are pretty close, because you could have stuff priced properly, but then routing is all over the place, and you're losing money no matter what you charge. But I think ultimately pricing is the number one thing. Back to reaffirming that most people don't really think about when they first start, is how important that is. So pricing, then I would say routing, to keep everything efficient so that you're making as much money, as much profit as you can with the pricing that you set deemed, because your pricing is going to involve it's going to factor in all those things, right? You're not pricing to drive all over town. You're not pricing to use the worst equipment. You're pricing at the most efficient, productive level that you're at to perform those services. If we're talking about just mowing, for example, you're pricing to be the most efficient mowing, and like a walk behind, a 48 or 52 inch hydro walk behind mower is kind of like the mid-level of all the mowers for mowing. And that's going to be the most efficient, or the like average most efficient. Obviously, you can get a big zero turn, but that might not be efficient for every lawn. It might be too big, and you can get a small, whatever, walk behind or zero turn, and then that might not be efficient either. So if you get a walk behind hydro 40, so again, then it's equipment after that. So we go pricing, routing, and then equipment, so that you can have, so once you get those first two things straight, then you have the good equipment, good quality equipment. It doesn't always have to be brand new, it doesn't always have to be the best, just what's going to get the job done the most efficiently. Like I said, for an example, like a good hydro walk behind mower, a trimmer, and a backpack blower, and you can pretty much tackle any average size yard from a lawn mowing standpoint. And then the last thing is employees. If you even want to have employees, if you just want to stay solo, you're the employee. You have to factor that in too. That's one thing that I would tell a lot of people as I started taking on employees, is you don't really realize all the things I said previous until you have employees. Like, once you have employees, you realize that if your pricing's incorrect, you realize if your routing is incorrect, and you realize if your equipment isn't right. Employees exploit all that. So I mean, employees help with all those things, but you don't even know that until you have the other first three things, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I think you make a really good point on the employees. It's like a good employee is not going to fix a bad business.
Right,
it's like
exactly.
Like I had a bunch of unprofitable lawns, and now I have an employee that's going out there and mowing my unprofitable lawns for me. He doesn't fix it. Now, obviously, and I think you would agree with me, all these are important. It's not that you're necessarily saying that employees aren't important or equipment aren't important. You just rank them in order. So I appreciate you doing that. So I'm going to kind of go through these, but the pricing, if how do somebody, if they start a lot of business or maybe they're reevaluating, like the pricing can vary region to region. How do you think it's more important to like look at your competition and say what's the market calling for pricing, or you know, some people say, oh, you got to know your numbers, so you just need to know whatever the price is you need for your business to be profitable. So how do you comment on that? How does that play out?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, I think it's like two main factors. Like, and to your points, yes, it's important to know your numbers and what's good for your business. But say that's way off. Like, say just from mowing perspective, say you're like, well, I need to charge $70 for this particular yard, and everybody else is charging $50. That you might price yourself out of the game. So you do need to know both. You need to know what your competition, your quote-unquote competition, which really you should be your only competition. You should get to your business to the point where you're the only competition, because you're great with customer service, the pricing is competitive, your service is fantastic, and people are just happy overall, and they're going to pick you over anybody else regardless of they're cheaper or whatever. So you should really be your only competition. But anyone else that's in your field, you should definitely know what the going rate is. What is the market rate, the market value for the service that you're offering? Like for mowing, for example, that's the most simplistic examples. You know, if everyone's charging $50 for a 10,000 square foot yard with not a lot of trimming and edging, just like basic stuff, no obstacle courses in the backyard or steep hills or anything crazy like that, just a basic average yard, then that doesn't mean you just charge 50 without knowing your numbers. It just means now you have some sort of a benchmark. And if that will work for you, if you actually know your numbers, like, okay, well, if I charge 50 and my costs are this, like it takes, you know, I spend this much gas, payroll potentially if you have employees, you know, you should factor in equipment maintenance. All these things should all be factored into each job. And you know, if it's costing you, you know, $40, you know what I mean, in cost, and you're like, man, I'm only making $10 off of this. I don't really know if that's, maybe you got to raise it up a little bit. Whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out there. The point is, you need to have that benchmark and then figure out if that makes sense for you and what your numbers are. But again, you also can't just be like, okay, well, I really need to be charging $70 for this yard. Well, maybe that means that you need to fix something in your business, that your costs are so high, your expenses are so high, you have such a high overhead, you know, or maybe you're just not getting your numbers straight and you need to consult with, you know, a professional or a peer in the industry, like a lot of us are to each other, and mentors. A lot of great programs out there online to help you maybe figure out those numbers so that you can price $50 to $60 and still be competitive and still make a good profit. Because you'll price yourself out of the market too if you're charging $70 for a $50 going rate lawn. No one's going to pay for that, at least not until you get established. If you can get to the point where you have a really good reputation as one of those businesses that you get what you pay for and you're like a premium service, then maybe you can get 70 and you add in all these extra stuff. Maybe you're pulling weeds out of mulch beds while you're there. Maybe you're doing a lot of little things that nobody else is offering that makes that one $70 cut worth it. But it's more of like a service stop, you know, it's a visit where you're doing these things versus just a cut. Where everyone else is charging 50 to mow, blow and go, you know, mow, little trimming and edging, you're charging $70 potentially for the whole visit. You know, you're there and you're doing this, you're doing that, in addition to mowing, trimming and edging. And those other things are probably negligible things that make a big difference on the property every time you're there. So a lot of food for thought there.
Well, yeah, you can't, you know, like you can't say I'm gonna buy a $70,000 truck, and so I need the customers to pay me double whatever
Right.
else. You know, like they want the service to look good. So, all right, good thoughts on that. On the routing, you mentioned that is the second most important on the list here. You know, how do you think through your business, is there, if a customer calls, how do you know, like, yes, I'm going to take that one on? You know, like for instance, if a new business starting up, you can't just take customers where you're already established because you're not established anywhere.
Right.
So do you take this one customer that's maybe, you know, 15 minutes away with the hopes that you're going to get more over there one day, or how do you think through routing for you, and then maybe in talking to other people that were getting started, how do they think through that?
Yeah, so for me now, I know the exact neighborhoods that I want to stay in and keep growing in, and maybe a potential new one, you know, every so often in a new year, like that's next close to those, because at some point you feel like you're saturating the market and there's a lot of other, you know, folks in there, and it's like, okay, you know, if you're trying to grow, you know, faster, it might be a slower growth sticking to certain neighborhoods, but so that all depends on where you're at. But for me, I have just certain neighborhoods that I stick with. We keep growing, you know, pretty much organically every year in those neighborhoods, and we have super tight route density. Like I was just telling one of my guys the other day, you know, this neighborhood is almost the same as this neighborhood. One neighborhood's got 24 yards, the other one's got 22. Like, that's a decent amount of work. That's a couple days worth of mowing and maintenance in those two neighborhoods. You know, you just spend the day, or you can't even get 24 yards in one day. So we're like a day and a half in one, and a day and a half in another. Now that's 4 days right there, or 1, 2, 3 days, you know, that we just got taken care of. But it takes time to get there, right? So how I was able to get there was I marketed all over the general area that I wanted to be, which is close to home. But I mean, some people I know people in my area, they live in a more rural area, and they drive to where I live, where all the HOAs, the homeowner associations are. They drive out there and spend the day taking care of all the properties. Because where they live out in the rural, people either don't want their lawn taken care of because they're taking care of it themselves, they have their own tractor mower, or they just got a bunch of weeds, like acres and acres of just weeds, and they could really care less. Like, they might go out there once in a while with their tractor, or get their grandkids or something to do it. I mean, there's a whole different variety of things out there. It's less likely that you're going to build route density out in the more, you know, country, rural areas, where if you get in the inner cities and the suburban areas, you can really have those tighter neighborhoods and just yard after yard, small to big yards. So you really kind of find what you want, where you want to be. Do you want to drive out 15 minutes to Jason's point and build in there? Or if you already are there, like me, I was fortunate enough to live in that general same area, surrounded by HOAs. That I lived in one of them, and you just grow around there. But you need to just kind of put your feelers out, market, try and get somewhere, and then see if that's where you want to keep growing, and then market in there and grow, whether it's Facebook, website, you know, postcards, door hangers, whatever it is that you want to do. I tried all of them because I wasn't sure what was going to work, and I usually got a little bit from something. You know, I got handed out maybe 1,000 postcards, and I got one call from one, and that paid for all those postcards because I got that customer for years. And then and it was a brand new neighborhood, and then I got more and more and more. I had got up to 8 or 9 customers on that one street, just because that one person called me back for that one postcard. So you got to try everything. You got to see what works. You know, give some things time. Don't give up. And but the main thing is for the tight route is, once you find where, oh, this is where I want to be, this is the sweet spot, this neighborhood has got a lot of opportunity, put all your eggs in that basket. You know, there's the pumpkin plan. Have you ever heard of that? Mike Michalowicz?
I've read some of his books, but I've read Profit First and a recent one he did, but I haven't read the pumpkin.
Yeah, well, so the quickest synopsis of the pumpkin plan by Mike Michalowicz is, you know, there's a fair or whatever every year, a competition for the biggest pumpkin. And he studied all these people, like the winner of the pumpkin, and what they do is they have a pumpkin patch, and they nurture all the pumpkins the same until they find one shining pumpkin that's growing bigger and faster than the rest, and then they kill off the whole rest of the crop and put all of their attention on that one pumpkin until it's the biggest, massive Mac Daddy pumpkin that they can get to put in the competition and win. So that's how you win, by putting all of your focus on one thing. So focus on one neighborhood. Once you find that that's the goal, that's your pumpkin. That's your goal right there.
All right, I love that. All right, equipment was your number 3, and I'm gonna give you 2 extremes and ask you to kind of comment on this. But the one extreme is I see these companies, some of the biggest companies in my area, that have millions of dollars in revenue, and they'll literally have a box truck with one walk-behind mower in there, like a 42 or 48 inch walk-behind mower, and 2 people. And I'm thinking they could afford everything, you know. And then the other extreme, you got the solo guy that's got 4 mowers on a 16-foot double axle trailer. It's got every piece of equipment ever, and he's working by himself. And it's kind of like, what does the big company know that the little company doesn't know? And I don't know, but is there kind of a sweet spot in there? Because obviously you got to have equipment, and some equipment is more efficient than others. You know, I don't think we want to all be out there push mowing lawns.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, just those 2 scenarios. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you find a happy medium for what works for your business?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to equipment, I think that's the biggest flexible variable that you should have in your business. Meaning, don't get hooked. Don't think you're stuck with one setup, with one type of mower, and I have to do it this way because that's what everyone else in my area does. Like, don't be afraid to try new things, new setups. You can always sell. A lot of dealers will trade them back in, you know, like for another thing. Like, hey, I don't want this particular brand walk behind. I want a different brand stand-on mower, or maybe it's the same brand and you just want to go from walk behind to a stand-on, or a stand-on to a sit-down, you know, whatever. You got to try stuff out. Hopefully you can do your homework first. You know, you want to make the best decisions right off the bat, but sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes, you know, you couldn't demo stuff. Sometimes you just kind of went with what you thought was the best, and then after a little while, a season or so, and you're like, man, this is not working out. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to put stuff up for sale or trade in and change, because the longer you stay with that inefficient setup, the harder it's going to be for you to be profitable. So I think that's always a moving target. I've had stand-on mowers almost from the beginning. I mean, I had a walk behind to start off with, and then quickly I was like, this is not as efficient as a stand-on mower. And that's when they were really kind of taking off back in 2016. Toro really went all out with, redid their stand-ons, so I got the brand new version of it, and it was just really taking off. And it's come way so far since then. So many different types of stand-ons, you know, some that are more affordably made, you know, for the entry-level guys and all that. So I mean, there's so many options out there. But so I've had the same similar basic setup, but there's a lot of changes I've done all in between. Like, you know, I need this more, and I need this, you know what, and I've done a lot of thought on it too over years. Like, I went years without buying a single another piece of equipment. I just had one stand-on mower, my original walk-behind mower that I barely used, but it was like an emergency backup, and a little 22-inch push mower, trimmers and blowers. And I did that by myself for a while. Then I got employees, and that started to get a little hairy because you only have so much equipment, so I had to get more trimmers, so more guys can do more work, more blowers. Then eventually I got another mower, and actually a bunch of mowers. But I was waiting for years, planning and figuring out what was going to be the best scenario, what's the best setup, and all that. But so, do a lot of research, figure out what's best for you. Obviously, looking around and seeing everybody around you is going to help. Like, oh, look at these, everyone's got box trucks, everyone's got open trailers, everyone, you know, whatever it is. And explore those ideas, do research. If you know any of them or want to get to know them, ask them, how do you like this? I mean, all the time I'm at a gas station on lunch, and guys will come up to me with my current setup, and they ask me questions about it, you know, and do you like that? Do you like this? You know, and I answer them honestly, because I'm all about giving back and sharing, and I would do the same to them. Like, that's awesome, how do you like that? You know, and it's all about growing, everyone, helping each other to grow the whole industry together. But so don't get set on one setup. Don't be afraid to try new things, swap things out, because that'll be the worst. That'll be the first thing that will tank your business, is having all this overhead, and it's the wrong stuff. It's not even making you the most money. It's not making you the most profitable, the most efficient. So,
all right. And fourth was employees, and you've probably seen this scenario happen like I have, but where people, you'll have a lawn business, and they'll be working solo until they're just slammed, they can't do it anymore, and then they hire somebody, and they do that for a year or two, and then they get frustrated, or sometimes they'll make a comment like, I think I was making more money solo than I was with employees. So employees are obviously not a bad thing, but what is it that is missing? Why does that situation happen, and how do you know that you're profitable enough as a business to be able to bring somebody on? Or, you know, obviously bringing somebody else is going to increase your revenue, but is it going to increase your bottom line?
Right.
How do you think through those things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the number one thing is not everyone is built to manage people, to be a leader, right? Some people just want to be technicians. They want to work for themselves, by themselves, so they want to get employees, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to lead those employees, manage those employees. You know, not everyone's built to be a manager or to manage people. So you need to figure that out about yourself first, because, you know, if you just think you're just going to get employees and just be like, you know, we'll be smooth sailing, that's one of the biggest issues why you can't keep employees, is maybe you're not the best manager in the world, and, you know, you really got to figure all of that kind of stuff out. But ultimately, are you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
but ultimately, the other side of that, from a financial aspect, is yes, more employees are gonna let you do more work. So ultimately, you'll make more revenue. But does that make you more profitable? You know, like I don't know if it's gonna make you more profitable. You need to know that. You need to figure that out. You need to do your numbers again, back to that, and figure that out. But I think there's a certain level of understanding too, that yes, you might make more when you're solo to a certain point, but then you can only do so much. You're one person. So if you want to, see, for me, what I said in a YouTube video a while ago was, a way back, is if there's a certain amount of money that you need to make to support yourself, your family, put your kids through college and things such as myself, then I can't be solo. I can't stay solo because there's a ceiling. There's only so many hours in the day and so much physical energy that your body can provide for you to get enough work done to make enough money to support whatever it is you need to support. If you've got a real simple life, you're all by yourself, then you can make a good living solo doing all this stuff. But if you need to achieve a certain amount of money of income every year, you might need to scale your business. In order to do that, you need employees. So you need to, like, can I even manage employees? Do I have the tolerance and the patience for that? If not, you can still grow your company, but you need to find someone else that can be an intricate part of your company that can manage those people. And you're the behind the scenes owner potentially. So there's lots of ways about that, and that all costs money, obviously. So you need to grow fast, you need to grow profitably, all the things we just talked about, so that you're keeping the profit margins as high as they can while you're increasing the revenue. But just getting employees is a lot easier said than done. I'm not even talking about labor crises or anything like that. I mean, imagine people are begging us for jobs and they want to work hard. Even if that were the case, you still need to be a good manager and manage these people. You still need to know your numbers. You still need to understand that as soon as you start taking on employees for the first time, immediately your profits are going to drop, and you have to start getting more work to get past that level. There's all these different phases that you go through before you achieve the next level, and now your profits go back to where they were or whatever. You have to understand that there's that adjustment. You know, like for me, it's like work 6 days, get an employee, and go down to 4 or 5 days. You know, and now it's the same amount of hours, but less days, like less work that you're doing by yourself. The profits are relatively the same, so you just got to think it through.
All right, I got a few more. We're going to go rapid fire on these a little bit, but are there some services that are more profitable than others? If you found like if you're out putting out mulch or aerating, or like, how do you think through that where mowing is maybe your steady business, but like, hey, I picked up a few of these other jobs and they paid better. So do you have some of those, and what have those been for you?
Yeah, so everything but mowing is pretty much as profitable as it can be, and I raise the prices accordingly as I need to. Like, you know, mulch, I'm like one of the most expensive mulch providers, but again, it's all for my clients. Like, I'm not a while ago I stopped being the guy that takes the phone calls. Hey, we need fresh mulch, you know, whether they're selling a house or they just moved into a house or they just haven't been able to get to it for however many years, and they want you to rip all the weeds out, put down fresh mulch, do a whole overhaul, maybe even trim all their bushes that are super overgrown. I'm not that guy. I've been there, done that. When you start out, you kind of have to do that to get your foot in the door and maybe start establishing yourself in certain neighborhoods and getting regular clients. But I stopped doing all of that. Now I only do any of those things when you I don't have contracts, but when you agree to us mowing your lawn every week or treating your yard every month, or, you know, whatever, 7-8 times throughout the year. It kind of comes out to be every month, minus a few like in the non-peak time. So those once you've agreed to us mowing your lawn weekly or treating your yard or both, then we'll add the other things on. Yeah, we'll take care of your shrubs at a premium. Yeah, we'll take care of your mulch at a premium. But we're going to do the most fantastic job ever. You know, we're going to give you the best quality mulch. We're going to edge everything before we put them all. I'm not talking like edging. That's a whole other thing that you have to charge for. I don't mean like with a shovel, and I'm talking like get the redefiners that really are game changers. They're attachments or an actual standalone unit like a trimmer or an edger, stick edger, but it's got a different attachment on the bottom to redefine mulch beds so that you have a nice, clean, crisp, deep edge to put the fresh mulch down in up against so it looks nice and pretty. We usually clean it up after that with a trimmer as well, so it has the same look, similar, pretty close of a look as if you were to take the shovel, you know, the edger shovel or edger or whatever. I've never used one of those before, but I know landscapers are big on that, and they cut fresh mulch beds or whatever. So we don't go to that extent, but we still do. A lot of people just throw mulch down. They don't care about weeds. They don't. A lot of, you know, companies, you know. So we take care of all that stuff. We don't pull all your weeds out unless you want us to. That's an extra fee. We'll knock them all down real nice and low if they don't want to pay that, but they want fresh mulch. We'll edge everything like I said, and everything looks good. We clean up, everything looks pristine. We don't leave random little piles here and there, spillages that we don't blow off or clean. Everything's as good as it possibly can be for mulch. So we charge a premium rate for that. Now again, we're not cheap on treatments or mowing either. but we're more competitive with those things because so many people are offering those, and that's kind of our bread and butter. That's where we get our clients with that. And then once we have them and they see what a great job we do with mowing and with fertilizing and all that, then we can charge them a premium for these other services because they know what they're going to get. And it's not like we're trying to run our business just off of those other things, where we can be more selective.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Software, how does that play a role in efficiency and you know, just how do you utilize whether it's your routing or your invoicing, or how have you used software to make you, you know, because your time as the business owner is what it is, and if whether you're out mowing lawns or sitting on a computer messing it with software, how does the software make you more efficient?
Yeah. So when I first started, I mean, immediately, I've always been like a somewhat tech savvy person. Like I know a lot of guys started off their business with like going to Office Depot and you get like the invoice book or something, you know, the carbon copies and all this stuff. And I never did that. I never did anything by hand. I mean, other than jotting down a quick note or something, but everything was in my phone. I found some random app that was for invoicing and estimating, but it was a generic app. It wasn't specific to our industry or any industry. It was just a generic invoicing and estimating app where you can put your client's information in there and you can send estimates out and you can invoice everyone, but it was all manual. And now, so at least I was one step ahead of handwriting stuff at the end of the day and all this. And so it was a lot more professional to email that stuff out and keep track of it electronically and do it right on my phone and not even have to go. My thing was I don't want to have to go home and do this stuff. I want to be sitting in my truck at the end of the day or first thing in the morning and do it all on my phone and be done with it, follow up throughout the day if I need to, emails, adjustments, whatever I have to do. And that's what I did. But it got to the point when I started getting more, you know, when you have like 30 clients to start off or whatever, year one, it's a little bit easier to manage that. When you get up to 70, 80, 90 clients, it gets a little hairy to be doing that all manually, meaning I had to enter every single invoice every single time. So, all right, we mowed, let's enter in that invoice or whatever. There was no reoccurring anything for this particular software. So I quickly, because of social media and all that, started stumbling upon other companies out there that are specific for the service industry, not just for lawn and landscape, but maybe even window cleaning and house cleaning and all that's reoccurring services in the service industry. So like for lawn mowing, I needed reoccurring stuff that's going to be automatic. You set it all up, you put the clients in there, you set up, we're mowing them this day, every week, this amount, and then it just comes up. So it all does it all on its own, so that the routing's already there. You basically set it and forget it, and it automatically populates. So every week you just go through the schedule, make sure it's set, boom, you're good. And now every day you pull it up on your phone on the app, and you see all the jobs you have to do that day, whether it's mowing some shrubs, whatever it is, mulch, treating the yards. You have it all right there, and you hit start job. When you're done, hit stop job, and it automatically goes into an invoice already generated. You don't have to do anything about it. You never have to do anything unless you have to fix something for some reason. Maybe a customer wanted you to add something on, or you're giving them, you know, you're taking some money off because you couldn't complete something, or you messed something, whatever. Any kind of adjustments you can go into, but anything that's just routine, you mowed, you're done. You mowed, you're done. You treated, you're done. It's just boom, boom, boom. You click, you know, start, stop, and it automatically generates at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, whatever. You just send those invoices. They all, you know, they're all kind of a little bit different however you want to set it up, but it accumulates all the invoices for you. You can have it email it automatically if you want, or you can have it where you have to review them and then go ahead and send them. But the bottom line is that completely changed my time, because now I don't have to think about doing all that stuff. I just have to look at my schedule, click start, go do Susie's yard, get done, click stop, move on to the next one, and then it just does it all in the background.
All right, last question. As far as profitability, do you prefer the small lawns, the big lawns? You know, the big ones you can, if you got a crew, you're like there working the whole time, you know, on this designated lawn. Where small ones, you're done so fast, but you got to get back in the truck. You know, with the small ones, sometimes you get a little higher margins because it's, you know, I'm charging this price for a little bitty yard. So where do you fall on small yard, big yard, medium yard, or do you just take what you can get?
So my ideal yards are the ones that are close together. That's it. I don't care if they're small, medium, or large. We'll take care of them all. And this all comes back to everything that we said. If you have the right equipment, like a 48-inch mower is my go-to size deck. We're talking about from a mowing standpoint here. It can get into most gates. especially if it's double obviously, but most single gates in the neighborhoods that we're in are big enough to get a 48 through. Some are smaller, like 36, or sometimes they're just off by an inch, like they didn't measure it properly. Yeah. You're like, great, and then you got to get the 21 or 22 inch out, or now I have a 30 inch. But you know, you don't have to have like a huge variety. I got by for so long with a 48 and a 22. This way, and some people are like, oh well, I'm not going to mow the lawn if I have to push mow it. You know, if the backyard's too small to get my mower through, I'm not even going to do it. But if they're right next to the one you're already doing, that's just profit out the window. I mean, okay, so it took you an extra 2 minutes to push mow the yard instead of riding on something fun and exciting. I mean, if you're doing that all day, every day, I get that's exhausting, but it's really a negligible amount if you're not driving to these random yards. If you're already there, what are you going to say no? You're going to tell them, no, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not push mowing your yard. Like, I don't have a mower small enough. Like, just have an ideal setup for, you really got to know the yards too in the neighborhood. So when you get those type of, when you find that pumpkin, master that pumpkin and know exactly what's the perfect setup for that whole pumpkin for that area, you know, back to the pumpkin plant, and you just kill it. And that's what we do. You know, I don't have a huge variety of different size mowers and types. I have what works for those neighborhoods, and some are big, some are small. We can take care of all of them.
So on the social medias, are you more LCR or Lawn Care Rookie, or your podcast?
Yeah, if they type in LCR, then everything comes up. But you know, my YouTube channel is Lawn Care Rookie, and then LCR Media Podcast. Those are like the two main things.
Hopefully, you guys. So what am I gonna say? I would say hopefully. I think that was pretty good.
Hopefully.
I hope that was a total waste of your time. No.
Those are the good outtakes right there.
I appreciate Naylor being with us, and if you want to follow him, he's got a podcast. You can find him at Lawn Care Rookie or LCR Media. So look at him for your podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LCR or Lawn Care Rookie. You'll find him on there. Also, we're here at the Hype House, and we're able to be here thanks to the Entrepreneur Academy and the Hardscape Academy. So the Entrepreneur Academy is Brian Fullerton, his wife Liz, and then the Hardscape Academy is Caleb and Brittany Allman. And so if you're looking to get into lawn maintenance, you can check out Brian's resources, or the Hardscaping, you can go check out the Allman's resources at the Hardscape Academy. If you want to get into weed control fertilization, you go to my website, lawncarelife.com. Appreciate you guys watching. Leave comments below. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.